Hello and a warm welcome back to the channel of nonsense. Now, what is Italian, grey, getting on a bit, and absolutely filthy? Yeah, it's the Alfa Romeo Stelvio Veloce, the Silvio Berlusconi of SUVs. I've been living in its bunga bunga party for the past 4 months. I've done about 3,000 miles in this as my work car through Motorpoint. Go and check out the Motorpoint YouTube channel that I present on as well. But this is a video summing up what the Stelvio Veloce has been like to live with over that period. The things that annoyed me, the things I've liked, and the things that have made me more overexposed than a polar bear on a sheet of A4 paper. Let's go. Right, I'm going to be behind the camera for most of today because, well, frankly, I haven't got my face on and I haven't got my tripod, but I really like the way the Stelvio looks. I've been living with this car. It's always been a pleasure to look back on it when it's been parked up. It just doesn't look like any other SUV on the market. It looks far sportier, far more stylish, I reckon, far more interesting. Now, obviously, this is a 2021 car. It's not the latest facelift, which I've reviewed on the channel. So go and click up whichever way it is up there if you want to see a full review. So it hasn't got the C-shaped daytime running lights in there or anything like that. But I don't mind. It looks quite low. It looks quite slinky. I'm not keen on grey/black wheels, but yeah, at least they're not those teledials. Oh, they just look so cliche. Now, this particular Stelvio had about 18,000 miles on it when I picked it up, and it was priced at about, I think it was £29,000. I've stuck about 4,000 miles on it since then. But yeah, I think that's reasonable value if you're looking for something that's an Audi Q5 rival, but as we'll find out in a bit, this is really good fun to drive. Now, Veloce, that is a trim level, but it also tells you what engine it's got. This has got a 4-cylinder 2-litre engine with 280 horsepower. It's quite quick, 0 to 62 is 5.7 seconds, but as we'll find out in the driving, it's a bit too thirsty, in my opinion, for the performance you actually get. Now, I said this is filthy in the intro, and it is, I'm sorry. It's been driven around various car parks at Silverstone. I haven't really cleaned it for ages. One area it has fallen slightly short in my book, and this is a bit of a specific whinge for me, is that the boot is big. It's 525 litres, but I took this on my first family camping trip. I've got a massive 4-man tent with inflatable poles, and it doesn't really fit all my camping stuff in it. I had this packed to the roof, I had the back seats packed out, my kids had no room, and yeah, we ran out of space, which is ridiculous, but that just shows how much stuff you need when you've got kids and you're going camping. So my next company car, which I get next week, has an even bigger boot than this. But I think for most people, this will probably be fine. I've used it for lots of tip runs, clearing out the decking in my garden. So yeah, I will hoover this out before it goes back and give it a clean. But you've got these handles here to flip the rear seats down. They've actually been useful. We've got a 12-volt socket there. And under there, you've got a bit of guff and tyre inflation stuff and a little bit of space. But yeah, it has been an okay family car. The next area where it has disappointed is in terms of rear seat legroom. I think it's actually a bit tighter than you might think given the size of the car. My 3-year-old, she sits there, and this seat, I've had to put it forward a bit, but she kicks the bejesus out of that. She should probably be in a slightly smaller seat, but hey, it's annoying. And when you've got comfort access on, this slides back and knocks the child seat, which is quite annoying. 5-year-old over there, she's kind of fine, but the back seats aren't that spacious. Now, the cabin. I like the cabin on this car. It feels a little bit more special than all the German rivals, helped by having the metal shift paddles. Don't actually use them that much in day-to-day driving, but they feel really, really nice. I've had loads of storage for water bottles. I've got half of a car park at Silverstone there. The seats are comfortable. They are quite narrow here in the side bits. They're a bit Italian, but I've been fine. It is slightly annoying that you have to plug in to get Apple CarPlay, but I've been doing that. There's a USB there. It's not been too much of a problem. The aircon in this one, you have to turn it all the way down to low to actually get it to go really cold. But the infotainment system is kind of okay. It's a bit slow to respond, and the screen is a bit glary, and it feels like the actual information on the screen is sat behind a slightly greasy layer of screen, even though it is clean. Down here, you've got a wireless charging mat, which, as you can see, I'm using to store Haribo Star Mix, but whatever. You've got USB-C, USB-A and an aux there, as well as a 12-volt. So yeah, the cabin is fine. The steering wheel is nice and thin. And the biggest annoyances really in this car are just that I've run out of space in it. Now, that was a very quick whistle-stop tour of the actual car itself, what I like and what I don't like. But the reason I chose this car from the list of cars I could have had as a work car is because it's different and because I know that these cars drive really, really well. So I'm going to stick my GoPros in and do the rest of the video while taking it for a drive. A slightly weird drive because some absolute turnip has dropped 16,000 litres of diesel on the roads near me. So 10 miles of roads near my house are shut, but we'll do what we can. Bear with. Right, let's go for a drive in the car I've been running for the past 4 months. And I have to say, it has mostly been a bit of a revelation in terms of how well an SUV can drive and how it can feel actually like a sports saloon more than anything else. Now, the turning circle is crap on the Alfa Stelvio. I've come to realise that this just needs a lot more space to turn around in a car park than you might think, and it's just a little bit annoying. But the flip side of that, this Giorgio platform that it sits on, shared with the Giulia, feels really nice. There's something about the light steering, the directness of the steering. It just feels very much not like an SUV. It feels like Ferrari's had a hand in it, which I think in some bits of this they have had. The other thing I like about it is that you can get the back out. It's quite rear biased, and this particular one for some reason is on Vredestein all-season tyres, so it hasn't actually got that much grip to start with. It's just a bit yeah, it's a bit kind of loosey-goosey when you want it to be. But you can't disable the stability control. You can put it in D mode for dynamic mode, and that lets the tail hang out a little bit more when you boot it, but it's yeah, it's not going to let you just drift it around as if you got a Stelvio Quadrifoglio. Now, I should talk about the engine because 280 horsepower is pretty punchy, but it's mostly at the top end. I think it's a Jeep engine, to be honest, this inline 4, and it feels coarse low down. It sounds a bit like a diesel, and it feels a bit like a diesel, but when you rev it out to 5,500 RPM, yeah, it gets a shift on. But I've been driving this like a normal person, not speeding everywhere, trying to conserve my fuel economy, and I've averaged 28 mpg, and until last week that was actually 26.5 average over 2.5, 3, 4,000 miles. I think it's 4,000 because I've reset the trip halfway through ownership. But yeah, it's not efficient. It's really annoying actually. You fill it up and then before you know it, you need to fill it up again. It's not a massive fuel tank actually on this, but a full tank gets you slightly less than 400 miles. So I knew it wasn't going to be efficient, but I wasn't prepared for it to be nearly as inefficient as the V6 Quadrifoglio version with 500 and something horsepower. So yes, fuel economy, shit. The way it drives, generally speaking, very entertaining, but the ride quality, it's dog poo, frankly. It's one of those cars that you look at it and think, oh, it's on nice chunky tyres, it's going to ride well. It just doesn't, and around town it's especially annoying. And again, maybe my buttocks have got more sensitive as I've kind of homing in on 40, but this just has slightly annoyed me. And it's the only car my 3-year-old has ever been car sick in the back of, and she's been sick in there several times, even when I'm not driving like a knob. So yeah, I expected better in terms of the ride quality and the fuel efficiency. Is it offset by an engaging drive? Sort of, but eventually I just don't care about wringing the engine out. I just want it to be a bit more refined, a bit more efficient. Now, motorway cruising is okay. It doesn't roar with tyre noise or wind noise. It's comfortable, apart from the ride over bumps. And it's just a very 7 out of 10 car, I'm afraid to say. It's got style on its side, but the rest of it has merely been okay. Reliability has been perfect. I know because this is an Alfa Romeo video, I have to say it will shit itself, but it's been absolutely fine. The only thing I have found is sometimes Apple CarPlay, when you first plug your phone in, the screen doesn't actually respond to touches and you have to use the little iDrive controller just for the first couple of presses, and then the touchscreen starts working. But other than that, it's been fine. The heated steering wheel is very fierce, but the button for it is on the left-hand drive side. They've not bothered moving it. The heated seats are really good. I like the dashboard. It's only got a digital bit in the middle, but that's been fine. It can show you a graph of your fuel economy and all the rest of it. Oh, one other niggle about the Stelvio. I've got low washer fluid warning, but it only comes on when you accelerate. when you go around a corner, because I think all the washer fluid kind of sloshes away from the sensor, and that kind of hides your digital speedo while that warning comes on the screen. So every time you accelerate, you can't see how fast you're going. It's very Italian, I think. Oh, and boring stuff, visibility all round is okay, the reversing camera is fine. It hasn't got stupidly sensitive automatic emergency braking when you're trying to reverse into something like a Volkswagen Group car. Listen to the engine. It is fast, but it's all at the top end. I much prefer this engine in the Giulia Veloce, I have to say. Would I recommend you buy one over something like an Audi Q5 or a BMW X3? Well, yes, over a Q5, because it's just a bit more interesting and it drives really nicely, but the X3 drives really nicely and does all the other bits better, such as the ride and just like the rear seat space and stuff like that. So I wouldn't say it's the default fun to drive SUV you should buy. It's in second place behind the X3 in that regard overall. It feels a bit dated in here. It's getting on a bit. I'm glad I've lived with it. I'm glad I've had an Alfa in my life, albeit an SUV one. But yeah, it's just not got the sparkle, and it's not got the kind of the finishing touches that I would really want in a family car, sadly. And it's just weirdly small in here as well. So there we have it. That's my thoughts on living with an Alfa Stelvio Veloce. I would say it's been interesting. The next car I'm getting, I know is going to get way better MPG. It's going to have more space. It's not going to have any Italian flair or charm because it's German. It's not going to be an SUV either. It's, I'm quite interested to see what you think of it actually. Go down to the comments, see if you can guess what I'm going to get. And if you get it right, I'll tell you and give you 20 Tim Rodey points, which you can actually trade in at your nearest McDonald's for 20 nuggets, which is great. But anyway, thank you for watching. Sorry it's been a slightly different video to usual. I just needed to get out while it's not raining and while there's not diesel on all of the roads. Like, honestly, how do you spill an entire fuel tank of diesel for 10 miles without noticing, and now 10 miles of road needs to be resurfaced? That insurance claim is going to be millions and millions and millions of pounds because someone forgot to do their fuel tap up. It's just ridiculous. Lots of people had crashes on it as well, including a few motorcyclists. And why is there a fair here? Why is there French flags as well? What's going on? Is this a secret revolution through the travelling entertainment community? Weird. But anyway, thank you for watching. Go down to the comments, leave me the Italian word for a swing and a miss, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.